Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
Hi everybody, I'm Dan and welcome to a special video from the Rock Nerd Radio Show where we will be talking about San Diego Comic-Con. And we're not talking about 2023 San Diego Comic-Con. We're going to take a trip in the Wayback Machine and talk about the only time I was able to go to San Diego Comic-Con, which was back in 2009. And I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con, and first off, if you've never been, the convention center there is gigantic. But I don't remember seeing a lot of signs. In fact, the only kind of signs I remember seeing were the ones that you see now. I don't remember it being giant billboards and panels and things like that. This was kind of before Comic-Con became such a pop culture phenomenon. I did get to see the line for Hall H. While I didn't go into Hall H that year, I did know people who were there. Apparently, not even apparently, this was the year they screened the footage for Iron Man 2. In order to get into Hall H for the Iron Man 2 footage, apparently you had to be there all day long, sit through every other panel. They weren't clearing the room in between, and it was quite the undertaking. So I didn't bother going into Hall H, but I did hear that footage was great. I remember seeing that trailer for the first time for Iron Man 2 and being very happy. Moving on, when you get into San Diego Comic-Con, if you've been to any of the major Comic-Cons, you might be used to seeing companies having large displays promoting whatever it is, their wares, whatever that they have that year. And Mattel that year was big on promoting the Masters of the Universe brand. They had a whole Castle Grayskull facade to their booth. You can even see the statue of Hero, one of the characters that they were promoting that year. And that was really cool to see close up. There was even a replica of He-Man's Power Sword, and if you're wondering why some of my pictures don't have an entire image in it, it's because when I was at San Diego, you couldn't really stop to take pictures of things. They were kind of rushing you about. This was before everybody had a camera on their phone. So if you did it with a digital camera like I had, maybe you'd get a couple quick shots. You could edit them a little bit on your camera, but it wasn't to the degree that we have now. So got to see a power sword even though you don't see the full thing in the image. And you'll never know who you run into at San Diego Comic-Con. Here I ran into a very short Dr. Doom. I always loved seeing some of the cosplayers, how dedicated some of these people were. And at San Diego Comic-Con, there was no shortage of them. I definitely had a fun time walking around, and I have a lot of other pictures with other cosplayers as well. But moving on as to what was going on in the comics world in 2009, well, this was when DC kicked off the Blackest Night event, and their whole booth centered around the reanimated Black Lantern versions of characters like Superman and Firestorm and Aquaman and Deadman. It was a great year to go because there were a lot of panels about Blackest Night and Green Lantern, which was my main DC read at the time. Marvel, on the other hand, showed us this image way back in 2009, promising the return of Miracle Man, which I feel like we didn't really get until 2022. They teased it. I feel like they never really did anything with it. I know they've been republishing those older stories now, and there was an announcement that I remember when they showed at Comic-Con. I think they were expecting everybody in the room at that panel to be excited, and it kind of fell to a quiet audience. Anyway, as I said, this was really before pop culture became, comics became the medium of pop culture. And they did have the Iron Man suits, the Mark 1, 2, 3, and 4 on display at San Diego Comic-Con promoting Iron Man 2. The whole Marvel booth had a Stark Industries branding on it. It looked pretty cool overall. And at the time, I don't remember if there were very many Marvel cartoons on TV. I remember the Superhero Squad, and they were promoting it. They had these nice big statues of Dr. Doom and Iron Man from the Superhero Squad. A fun, silly show if you ever just kind of want to watch a goofy Marvel kid show. But another thing that I saw at San Diego Comic-Con was this. I saw Lou Ferrigno, and I was standing pretty close to him for this picture. Some of the great things at San Diego Comic-Con was they used to have all these big toy displays for the figures that were coming out. And Marvel at the time, Hasbro, wasn't really doing too many Marvel Legends. We will talk about Marvel Legends in a bit, but they were focusing on the Marvel Universe line, the 3 3/4 inch line of figures. And the cool thing was, these displays would often change. In fact, the first day I went, you saw it like this, a nice big city battle. You see characters like Wolverine and Hulk and Spider-Man. But later on in the week, Galactus would show up with Silver Surfer, and they wouldn't even really mention that it was coming. It would just be there. So I remember my friends and I kind of running over, someone saying, "Did you go to the Hasbro booth yet? You got to see what they added," and things like that. This was also the place where I got the first look at some of the Iron Man 2 movie figures. Of course, I took pictures of the comic-based ones. Even back then, I tried to just buy comic-based figures. But it was cool to see characters like Crimson Dynamo, War Machine, and a comic-style Mark I Iron Man getting figures at a time where we weren't really getting Legends, and I wasn't fully in love with that Marvel Universe line. These Iron Man figures kind of helped me hang on to that line. In terms of Spider-Man, there was a dedicated Spider-Man line, a little more kid-friendly, not as posable. There was a Venom coming out, and there was also a Rhino, and kind of pre-posed almost. They had joints and you can move them around, but sometimes, with Rhino, he would just kind of squat, and that was where he was at. You kind of had to only display him like that. Of course, there were variations on Spider-Man with various made-up costumes and silly gimmicks. This one, for all I know, was called like Slime Spider-Man. I don't remember, but yeah, they were showing these off at the convention. But I was on board for some of the exclusives at San Diego Comic-Con that year, and one of the exclusives that they had in the Marvel Universe line was this Captain America and the Invaders 4-pack. This was to promote the 70 years of Marvel Comics, and this 4-pack featured a Captain America who was supposed to be like a World War II Captain America, the original Human Torch from World War II, Namor as he would have looked in World War II, and a Red Skull figure. I believe the Red Skull figure was on one of the Indiana Jones bodies that Hasbro was producing, because he was significantly shorter than the rest of the characters in that set, and he also had a different style of articulation. So yeah, it didn't seem to match, but it was a cool one, very militant looking Red Skull. Of course, there were other things that you could only get at San Diego Comic-Con, or you had to jump through some online hoops. There was this Nick Fury that was being offered. I think you had to become a member of Marvel Unlimited or something and prove it, and then you could get the figure. You could sign up there. So I believe I signed up just to get that Nick Fury, because I wanted a Nick Fury for my collection. And going back to some of the other things that were shown off at San Diego Comic-Con at the time, this was when we had our Walmart 2-packs featuring the Giant Man Skrull and the Bucky Captain America. A very cool 2-pack when it came out. I do remember getting a different version of Bucky Cap and replacing it kind of quickly, but they also showed the Iron Man with the pointy mask that would come with a Goliath figure. And, when I was collecting the Marvel Universe figures, I managed to get my hands on just about all of them, except this one. There was a variant that had Giant Man in these colors, and I never got my hands on this version of Giant Man. The articulation now I think is a little dated. I don't know if I'd necessarily go back and try to get it, but it was something that I remember seeing. Alright, and as I said, sometimes they would just throw things into that display case that would surprise you. The Marvel Universe line, when it started, it wasn't a quick kind of me falling in love with it. I was buying it just because there was no other Marvel stuff to buy at the moment, really. There were some Legends, which we'll talk about, but when they started adding things like this Thor figure, I was very excited. Or even this Luke Cage, or the Extremis Armor Iron Man. These were really cool. The articulation improved a little bit, and, so did their proportions. So I remember really getting into it kind of around this time. I had most of the figures you see in the background of this photo already, but I was happy to get some of these other ones that I thought looked better than what they started putting out. And one of the cool things I remember seeing at San Diego Comic-Con that year was the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends multi-pack that was coming out. This was the first time we ever got a dedicated 3-pack to Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in action figure form. It was very cool to have that. And I remember getting that and being very excited when it came out. Now, in terms of Marvel Legends, there were some Legends coming out. We did get some 2-packs, some that had some troop building possibilities. You can see in the picture here we did have some 2-packs that would have things like characters like Iron Man. They would have Nick Fury as well as generic SHIELD agents because there were different heads you could pop on. There's Maria Hill, Sharon Carter. We had Kree agents, Skrull agents. They could be Super Skrull or regular Skrulls. We had Hand Ninjas. And this was kind of when Hasbro stopped doing Legends for a while. Interestingly enough, though, they were still doing other things. There was a Spider-Man Legends size toy line coming out. It was just called Spider-Man. They weren't as articulated as Legends were, but they were nicely detailed. You can see a Spider-Man as well as a Green Goblin here that were present in that series. But there was also, they were focusing on the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon figures. At that point, many had been out. I think the Vulture was new, so I remember wanting to take a picture of him because I hadn't seen him before. But what I loved that they did is that they were running a fan vote for some more 2-packs that you could possibly get, depending on the fan vote winners. And in here, you'll see some characters that we eventually got, and some that we have never actually gotten in this form. So some of the characters you could vote for, you could get characters like Deadpool, and we eventually did get a Deadpool early on into the Hasbro Marvel Legends run. There was a Phantom X, and while we never got a pure white Phantom X, we did get kind of the X-Force inspired one with the black highlights on his jacket. There was a chance to get a Brother Voodoo figure, who eventually got made, although not in this costume. Behind him, you can see Black Widow and Hulk. We got them. The Multiple Man, while we have a couple versions of Jamie Madrox, we never got him in this costume during the X-Force run. You can kind of see behind him that there is the X-Force colored Wolverine and Warpath. They're a little hard to see, but eventually that Warpath came out as well. He was in the 2-pack with Deadpool. Moving along as to what else was in that display case, you'll see Constrictor, who eventually was made in the Terex wave. Valkyrie, who was one of those 2-pack, I don't want to say winners, but inclusions. I don't remember who actually won. I think 3 characters won, and then they supplemented with 3 more characters for each of those 2-packs. Behind Valkyrie, that's not Ghost Rider that you see without his flames. That is a character called Terror Inc., who Marvel had a mini-series going on at the time, and I think they were trying to promote him. He never really got a lot of attention, though, so we've never gotten that Terror Inc. figure. You can see Havoc as he was appearing at that time in comics. Again, we've never quite gotten that exact costume. Behind him, you can see the Dark Miss Marvel, first appearance Miss Marvel costume. Again, something we've never gotten in Legends form. Next to them, you can see Jean Grey in the White Phoenix costume, as well as Nuke. And while we eventually got Nuke, it was on a very different style body when he came out. We also see that the Bagman Spider-Man was up for a nomination that year. While he didn't win, we eventually got one. It just took a while. And the rest of the characters in here, you see a Hood. We did eventually get a figure of the Hood, although a lot of us maybe didn't love the head that was included on it. A Lady Bullseye was up there. Prototype was made. She never made it into a real figure, nor did Beast, the Hulk villain. Those 3 2-packs ended up being, if I remember correctly, Hulk and Valkyrie. There was also Deadpool and Warpath. And was there another, or were there just 2? Maybe that was it. I kind of don't remember now. I do apologize. But anyway, there were so many of these figures I wished got made and never did. And I'm hoping maybe one day some more of them will see the light. I would love to get a Lady Bullseye figure. In terms of Transformers, I didn't take a lot of pictures from San Diego Comic-Con for Transformers. I did take a picture of the Devastator as it appeared in the second Transformers movie, which had come out that year. And one of the few movie Transformers I ever bought, and I still have this one. It was actually a gift from a friend, and so he is still living on my display shelves. Friends of mine were into the DC Universe figures. I picked up some, not that many, but at San Diego Comic-Con they were promoting characters like Green Arrow and Black Canary. They were also promoting the Chemo Build-A-Figure. You get to see Black Adam there as well. And they were also, because again, Blackest Night was going on, Jeff Johns' Green Lantern was really popular. They were promoting some of the Sinestro Corps 2-packs. And if you want to just sigh for a moment and smile, that 2-pack was running at $25 on MattyCollector.com. Imagine paying $25 for a 2-pack now. Wouldn't that be nice? We also got our first look at the Superman Batman Public Enemies line, which was going to be exclusive to Target. And yeah, I remember some people liking it, some people not, because they are very stylized to that direct-to-DVD movie. After that, there was the DCUC Wave 11 that I remember seeing, and this I was excited for because I decided I was just going to buy Green Lantern figures. The only problem with that was Kilowog was the Build-A-Figure, so I had to get that entire wave in order to get Kilowog. But you can see here there is John Stewart down there. This was a fun wave for me to get, even though I've ended up selling off a lot of those other pieces that I didn't necessarily need. But the reason why I was so into Green Lantern was because of this guy right here. Here's a picture of me and Jeff Johns, writer of Green Lantern. I became such a Green Lantern fan when he took over that book. I didn't really read a lot of DC, and at San Diego Comic-Con, I actually just kind of saw him standing around, and we were going into a panel for something, and I just wanted to walk over him and kind of just say that I liked his work on Green Lantern. And when I walked over to kind of thank him for that, he saw the camera in my hand, and he said, "Oh, do you want to take a picture?" And I believe his wife, girlfriend, whoever he was with, took this picture. So this is always cool that I have a picture of me and Jeff Johns, and because now he's like in charge of DC, so that's pretty neat. But overall, San Diego Comic-Con really was a lot of fun. And the only other thing from San Diego Comic-Con that I want to mention is, while I did buy a number of things there, my collection has changed over time. There is one thing that I have not gotten rid of. I still have it on my display, and it is this G1 version of Autobot Pipes. I got this at San Diego Comic-Con. I picked up a couple other Transformers there, but some have been sold since then. This Pipes I won't let go of. It's nice to have a G1 Pipes. I got him at a booth for like $1 or $2. Again, this was kind of before a lot of this stuff was commanding very high prices, and it was just a great experience. So I get to smile and think about San Diego Comic-Con every time I look at this Pipes figure, or anytime I look at these photos. So hey, thanks for checking out this video where I kind of recounted my time in San Diego back in 2009. It's a long time ago for me, and I miss it. I would love to go back sometime. I still go to New York Comic-Con, and who knows, maybe I'll see you at one of the conventions eventually. So hey, thanks for tuning in to the Rock Nerd Radio Show. As always, I've been Dan, you've been awesome, and I'll see you next time.
Come geek out with us.